So, nothing will spark a discussion, maybe even an argument, about which is better, the 9mm or the 45. So today's forgotten cartridge, we're going to, the forgotten caliber, we're going to talk about the 10mm auto. The 10mm was kind of trying to, I think they were trying to bridge the gap between the 9mm and the 45 and make a superior defensive cartridge. And they actually did make a very, very good cartridge. The FBI was interested in it right off the bat, and but it was a little hot for law enforcement. So they ended up developing what was called the 40 Smith Wesson, and it was a lot better cartridge for law enforcement. I don't particularly like the 40 Smith & Wesson. I'm just a 45 man, but it was kind of a good trade-off and get it down where most policemen can handle it, because it was kind of the 10mm does have a little punch, but I don't believe it's much more than 45, if it even is more. One of the other problems when it first came out, it came out in what was called the Bren 10 pistol in the 80s. I believe it was in the 80s. And a lot of people, a lot of manufacturers built pistols for it, but not all of them stayed together. It was a little bit too much pressure for a lot of pistols. The Glock made a 10mm and it held it pretty good, and it was a good pistol with the 10mm. And the 1911 Colt came out with the Delta, and I had one back in those days. This one's a newer model Delta, and in stainless. I just like the cartridge. It got forgotten for a long time when the 40 Smith & Wesson came out, but it's starting to get back into popularity. It's a really good, if you want a handgun hunt, it's a really good handgun hunting cartridge, and it has it boasts about 1,200 feet a second with a 200 grain bullet. So that's whistling out there, and you could do a little better with hand loads. So good cartridge. That's the one we're talking about today. The 10mm has gotten back popular enough that you can buy rounds off the counter, you know, off the shelf. I like to load my own because I can get what I want out of it. I started out with the 180 grain bullet years and years ago when the 10 first came out, and I've stuck with it. And for target, I just use a copper jacketed 10mm bullet. And then a little bit cheaper, you can laser cast makes a 10mm 180 grain all lead bullet also. And I suppose if you were shooting steel with it, that might be a good choice. If you're shooting you know, like speed steel or something like that, be a little cheaper for the bullets. I load my own. The only time I buy rounds for it is I do carry it with me when I'm hunting and when I'm running around, and I will use factory 180 grain Federal hollow point bullets for ammo for it. But anything that I shoot other than that for target practice or whatever, qualification, any of that kind of stuff, I'll usually use a ball ammo like that. And I actually have a couple of boxes of some hollow points that I've been loading, but I shoot them for practice. I use tight group for powder, and when I first started with the 10mm, tight group wasn't around. I used to use Blue Dot, and that really was a good powder. So look at all your shotgun powders that are available. Some of those will work really good in the 10mm. When tight group came out, I started using it in my cowboy loads. Fell in love with it. I can get about 1,000 feet a second out of a 180 grain bullet, and that's just fine. When I'm out in the woods, I use Hunting Shack's Bear Loads, which is a 200 grain bullet, all lead hard cast bullet. My choice is a Delta Elite. This is a new version. Colts made this for a while. They stopped making it, and they came out with a new version when it started getting popular again. And there's no difference. This one, the difference between this one and my first one is this one's stainless. You can get 9-round magazines, so you got 9 in one, so you got 10 rounds. And if you have another magazine, pretty much instantaneous reload. Good little gun. I like it for hunting because it's light, it's flat. I mean, if I'm in bear country, yeah, I'm going to put some 300 grainers in my 45 Colt and let's go to work. But around here, we don't have big bears. Pretty much, I ain't scared of any of the four-legged critters. I've never in 40 years of wood wandering has ever had a problem with a four-legged critter. But I feel comfortable with the four-legged critters we do have. This would definitely take the fight right out of them. And two-legged critters, of course. I think it's fine for that. But they're good. It's a good round. I don't know if you can still call it forgotten because it's come back again. But it was the new kid on the block that was supposed to just beat the pants off of everything else, and the 9mm and the 45 auto are still here. So I don't know if you can call it a forgotten caliber or not, but it definitely, it's another one of my favorite calibers. Let's put it that way. Give it a try on the 100-yard gong. There we go. Not bad for 100 yards. So the gun will do 100 yards. It sounded like it hit it pretty hard. I'm going to shoot some more. All right. This is the, I don't know if Lyman's come up with another one. This is the 50th edition. The time I got it, it was the newest one. They may have another one out now. But anyway, the 10mm, you can get offerings in 135 grain. And according to the charts, you can get them sizzling around 13. You can get 155s, 150s, 165, 180, and 200 grain. And then, of course, you have your lead, all lead bullets. You have 150 and 175s. The number 2 alloy lead. So there's really a lot of options with it. It's a good gun. I wouldn't go out and replace my 45 with it, but if you were looking for another gun and wanted to get something different, the 10mm would be a good round, and it would definitely work for all different kinds of things. So and as you can see, it's plenty accurate. Out to 100 yards, I can hit the side of a gong out there. So it's a good all-around cartridge. Definitely one of my favorites. That's it for this episode. I'm Buckskin Dave. I'll see you next time, and you guys have a great day, and thanks for dropping by. Bye-bye.